My husband belonged to a Mafia bloodline forbidden to leave the country. So when I discovered he had gotten my cousin pregnant, I did not ask for a divorce. I filed for permanent residency overseas. Once I crossed the border, Dominic Conti could never follow me, and he had no idea my flight left in 3 days. I had spent weeks preparing without using any account connected to the cont. I transferred my personal savings in small amounts, mailed copies of my documents to a friend abroad, and listed my parents' old apartment as the last address. No one in Dominic's organization monitored the residency. Approval in my bag was more valuable than jewelry, because it created the one distance his power could not close. The rule was not symbolic. The Conti bloodline's power depended on remaining inside the country. Dominic could send men, money, and threats abroad, but crossing the border himself would cost the name and authority he valued above life. The immigration officers recognized my name. They whispered about the powerful, awful man who supposedly adored me, and wondered why any woman would walk away from him. The world knew Dominic as a cold, disciplined man who had never allowed another woman near him. Then he met me at a college gala, and pursued me with an intensity that made headlines. He filled the sky with fireworks, remembered every preference, and once drove through a storm because I mentioned craving chocolate croissants when my parents died. He abandoned a business trip and came home to hold me. He arranged their funeral, slept outside my room when grief kept me awake, and made every member of his family swear that I would be treated as a Conti. His protection had felt absolute. That history was why the betrayal with Ava did not look real at first. I had trusted the man who carried me through my worst loss more than I trusted my own eyes. You still have me, Arabella. I'll never leave you. I married him because I believed that promise. My cousin Ava moved into our home while I helped her find work. She arrived with 2 suitcases, no savings, and stories about relatives who looked down on her. I gave her clothes for interviews, introduced her to employers, and defended her when the household staff questioned why she wandered through private rooms. Each kindness gave her another path into the center of my marriage. Dominic slept with her on the sofa, in the kitchen, and in our bed. I learned the locations from traces neither of them bothered to hide, and messages Ava sent to test how much I knew. She had entered our home asking for help, treated every room as proof that she could take what belonged to me. On my way home from immigration, Ava posted a photograph of a man's profile pressed against an ultrasound image. The account was restricted, so only selected people could see it. Ava wanted me to notice. Without giving me evidence, I could easily show the family. Other posts used cropped hands, reflections, and gifts I recognized from our home. She was not hiding the affair from me. She was measuring how much humiliation I would accept before reacting. Happiness is having a baby with the man you love. I recognized my husband immediately. Dominic met me at the door and fastened a necklace around my throat. Happy anniversary of the day we met. I had dinner flown in from Europe. When I said I felt sick, he summoned private doctors, warmed milk himself, and stayed beside me. Until I fell asleep. He could put a child inside another woman, and still play the perfect husband without missing a detail. That was what made leaving possible. If Dominic had become openly cruel, I might have confronted him. His tenderness showed that he could betray me without disrupting his routine, which meant no promise or apology could make the marriage safe again. I woke thirsty and found Ava holding him in the hallway. You gave her an expensive necklace, he complained. I asked for one too. If I'm unhappy, your baby is unhappy. Dominic pushed her away. Remember your place. I love Arabella. If she discovers this, you and I are finished. Then he took out a second necklace, the same design as mine in another color, and handed it to her. Ava smiled. Are you really that afraid she'll leave? Yes. I can't live without her. If she leaves, I'll go insane. I returned to bed before he saw me and silently counted the days. The next morning, a woman in the family compound publicly accused her husband of keeping a mistress. Dominic covered my ears. Don't listen to that filth. Do all men eventually betray their wives? I asked. He stiffened. I can't betray you. If I ever choose another woman, let the Conti name end with me. Let my position, inheritance, and authority be stripped away. For a Conti heir, losing his name was worse than death. He made the oath knowing he had already broken it. The same mouth that promised extinction. If he chose another woman had kissed Ava and claimed her unborn child. Nothing can take you from me, he promised. Closest friends repeated the same performance. They called me the only woman capable of controlling Dominic, and described Ava as a helpless cousin under our protection. Later, I found messages showing that they had arranged hotel rooms, changed dinner reservations, and warned Dominic whenever I returned home early. The betrayal had become communal. Men who toasted our marriage helped him protect the pregnancy that could destroy it, then smiled across the table, and asked when Dominic and I planned to have children. Behind him, Ava appeared dressed for a social mixer. The moment she mentioned meeting another man, Dominic's face changed with unmistakable jealousy. He recovered quickly, and took me to celebrate our wedding anniversary. A private restaurant glowed with candles. while fireworks outside spelled out his love for me. One of his men whispered that Ava had attempted suicide. Dominic stood so fast, his chair struck the floor. Something urgent happened. I'll come back for you. He never did. Near dawn, I took a taxi home and found him at the door. He hugged me and apologized, still pretending Ava was merely a family problem. Inside, she sat on her sofa in silk pajamas. A kiss mark darkened her neck. She claimed her boyfriend had dragged her away from the mixer. Later, I opened the bathroom door and saw Dominic gripping her chin. Try seeing another man again, he warned. Her eyes found mine over his shoulder. I'm yours, she told him sweetly. Isn't that enough? That night, Dominic woke from a nightmare and searched the bed frantically until he found me. He wrapped both arms around me and whispered that losing me was the only thing he feared. I lay still beneath his grip, thinking about the boarding pass hidden inside a book in my study. Dominic believed proximity meant possession. He had no idea I had already arranged for my phone to go dark only after the plane left national airspace. You left, he whispered. I couldn't find you. Tomorrow, his nightmare would become real. He insisted on taking me to his office for my final day in the city. An old colleague from immigration recognized me. I heard you filed papers to leave the country, she said. Does Dominic know? His voice sounded behind me. Leave the country. I claimed my colleague was the one emigrating. She understood my warning look and confirmed the lie. Dominic pulled me into his arms, heart hammering. You scared me. My bloodline can never leave this city. Spouses can go, but I could never follow. If I've done something wrong, hit me, yell at me, even kill me, but don't leave. I understand, I said. That evening, he took me to a restaurant owned by one of his friends. His inner circle called me. Donna cleared the building for me and joked that I was Dominic's heart. Ava arrived uninvited. In the restroom, an unknown number sent me a message. If I tell him my stomach hurts, do you think he'll still stay with you? When I returned, Dominic was already standing. I need to handle something. Ava left moments later claiming her boyfriend had arrived. Hours passed. Dominic did not return. His friends offered to take me home. As I reached the car, I remembered my bag and went back inside. Their voices carried through the private room. Finally got the Donna out of here. I don't know how Dominic keeps pretending in front of his wife. He and Ava have been at it for 3 hours. She's pregnant and they still can't control themselves. At least the Don finally found someone. Knew of course we cover for him, they laughed. These were the same men who cleared restaurants when I entered and called me the heart of the Conti family. Their respect had always been another performance maintained on Dominic's orders. Everyone knew the men who smiled at me and called me Donna had been helping my husband deceive me for months. I collected my suitcase and went directly to the airport. The driver asked whether I was taking a vacation. No, I said, watching Dominic's city disappear behind me. I'm emigrating. My phone began to ring as the airport came into view. I switched it off. The airport door slid shut behind me. My phone kept vibrating inside my handbag. Dominic. Again. 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 I stared at the screen until his name disappeared beneath another incoming call. Then a message appeared. Dominic, where are you? Another. Dominic. Arabella, answer me. Then the one that made me smile. Dominic. Ava is lying to me. I'm coming home. I turned off the phone completely. 3 hours later, my plane lifted above the clouds. The moment we crossed into international airspace, I opened my phone. Hundreds of missed calls flooded the screen. Then a voicemail arrived. Dominic's voice was ragged. Arabella, come home. I laughed. He sounded terrified. Not angry. Terrified. Another message arrived from an unknown number. Your husband just discovered your immigration approval. I typed back. Too late. Then I blocked the number. Across the ocean, Dominic finally understood. He rushed to the airport. His men surrounded the private terminal, searching every departure record they could access. But there was nothing. My passport had already been processed. My luggage was gone. My seat was empty. And I was beyond his reach. Dominic stormed into the immigration office the following morning. You approved my wife? The officer looked at him calmly. Your wife was legally entitled to leave. She belongs to the Conti family. The officer raised an eyebrow. She belongs to herself. Dominic's face turned murderous. But he couldn't cross the border. The old bloodline rule remained absolute. If he left, his family would strip him of his position, his inheritance, and every ounce of authority he had spent his life building. For the first time, Dominic had to choose. His empire. Or me. He chose the empire. Exactly as I knew he would. Then Ava arrived at the compound carrying her suitcase. I heard Arabella left. Dominic didn't answer. She stepped closer. You said you loved me. His eyes lifted. I said many things. Ava's smile disappeared. But the baby? What baby? She froze. Dominic's voice became dangerously quiet. You told me you were pregnant. I am. Then why did the doctor report say the pregnancy was 6 weeks old? Ava stopped breathing. Dominic's men had already investigated. The dates didn't match. The pregnancy had begun before the night Ava claimed Dominic was with her. Dominic stared at her. Whose child is it? Ava started crying. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. She grabbed his sleeve. Dominic, I only did this because Arabella had everything. He ripped his arm away. You destroyed the only thing I valued. Ava's face twisted. You never loved her. Dominic looked at her with disgust. You were right about one thing. She looked hopeful. He continued. I never loved you. His men dragged her out of the compound. By that afternoon the entire Conti family knew. By evening, Ava's boyfriend Mark had disappeared. And by midnight, Dominic received one final notification. My immigration status had been finalized. Permanent residency approved. My new life had officially begun. Dominic stared at the document on his screen. Then he called me. I answered. For several seconds neither of us spoke. Finally he whispered. Come home. I looked through the apartment window at the city lights outside. No. Arabella. You promised me you'd never leave me. I won't. You already did. His breathing broke. I can fix this. No, Dominic. I smiled. You can fix your marriage. His voice trembled. But I don't have a wife anymore. I hung up. 3 months later, I opened my own company overseas. 6 months later, I bought the apartment I had been renting. A year later, I met someone who made me laugh so hard I nearly spilled coffee all over myself. She wasn't afraid of my history. She didn't care about the Conti name. She simply liked me. And for once, love didn't feel like a cage. Back home, Dominic never remarried. He kept my portrait in the study. His family called it madness. His closest friend eventually asked him why. Dominic stared at the photograph. Because she was the only person I ever had who wasn't afraid to leave me. Then he looked toward the border he could never cross. And finally understood the cruelest part of losing me. He had spent his entire life becoming powerful enough that nobody could take anything from him. Yet the woman he loved had escaped simply by walking away. And there was nothing his empire could do about it. A year after I left, I thought Dominic Conti had finally accepted reality. I was wrong. The first warning arrived on a Tuesday morning. A courier delivered a black envelope to my office. Inside was a photograph. Me. Standing outside my building. Taken the previous evening. On the back, someone had written, You can leave the country. You can't leave the family. I stared at it for 3 seconds. Then I laughed. Apparently, Dominic had forgotten one important detail. I was no longer his wife. I was his enemy. I called my lawyer. Someone is watching me. Her expression changed immediately. Do you know who? No. I handed her the photograph. She studied it. Then let's find out. By sunset, we had security footage. The man following me wasn't one of Dominic's usual soldiers. He was Ava's former boyfriend Mark. And he wasn't working alone. The next morning, Mark was arrested for trespassing. That's when he broke. He confessed everything. Ava had been sending men after me for months. She wanted revenge because Dominic had abandoned her. Her pregnancy had been exposed as a lie. And the Conti family had cut her off completely. But Mark revealed something worse. Ava hadn't simply wanted me frightened. She wanted me brought back. Because she had discovered the one weakness that could force Dominic to cross the border. Me. She planned to manufacture a kidnapping. Make Dominic believe I was in danger. Then he would abandon the Conti restrictions, cross the border, and lose everything. Ava intended to destroy both of us. I couldn't help smiling. She really thinks I'm still the same woman who needed Dominic to protect her. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. You aren't. I opened the drawer beside my desk. Inside were the documents I'd been collecting for a year. Bank records. Messages. Photographs. Copies of Dominic's family's financial arrangements. Evidence of every person who had helped him conceal the affair. I didn't spend a year rebuilding my life just to hide from them. That night, I made one call. To the Conti family council. They answered immediately. I placed the evidence on the table. You've spent years protecting Dominic's reputation. The oldest member stared at me. What do you want? Nothing. He frowned. I want you to know what your precious heir has done. I sent the files. The room went silent. Every secret I'd collected was there. The hotel records. The payments. The messages. The men who lied for him. The pregnancy. The second necklace. Everything. Then I sent one final file. Dominic's oath. The recording where he had sworn that if he ever chose another woman, the Conti name should end with him. The council members listened. Then the oldest man slowly removed his glasses. He broke the blood oath. Yes. And you knew. I knew before I left. The old man looked almost horrified. You could have destroyed him then. I smiled. I wanted him to understand what it felt like to lose something he couldn't replace. 3 days later, Dominic was summoned before the council. He walked into the room expecting punishment for financial misconduct. Instead, the recording played. His own voice filled the chamber. If I ever choose another woman, let the Conti name end with me. Dominic closed his eyes. Then the council announced his removal. His inheritance was frozen. His authority was stripped. His position was transferred to his younger brother. For the first time in his life, Dominic Conti became an ordinary man. And Ava? She heard the news from a cheap apartment she could barely afford. She screamed so loudly the neighbors called the police. Then her phone rang. Dominic. She answered immediately. Dominic, I can explain. I don't want your explanation. Then what do you want? Nothing. He hung up. Ava stared at the phone. The woman who had once believed she could steal my husband had lost everything. And Dominic had lost his empire. But neither of them had lost their obsession with me. That was going to become their biggest mistake. Because I had built an entire life without them. And now that they had nothing left to lose, I finally had something worth protecting. Dominic Conti lost everything within 6 months. His inheritance was frozen. His companies were taken from him. His men stopped answering his calls. Even the restaurants that once cleared entire buildings when he entered stopped reserving tables for him. The Conti name had protected him his entire life. Now it was the reason everyone wanted nothing to do with him. He moved into a small apartment overlooking the same city he once controlled. The irony nearly drove him insane. Every morning, he woke up reaching for me. Every night, he checked the time difference between our countries. He knew exactly when I would be leaving work, when I would have lunch, when I would usually go home. He knew everything about my life except the one thing he desperately wanted to know, whether I had fallen in love again. Then one afternoon he saw a photograph online. I was standing beside a woman at a charity gala. She had one hand around my waist. I was laughing. Actually laughing. The caption read, Arabella and her partner celebrate the opening of their new foundation. Dominic stared at the photograph for nearly an hour. Then he threw his phone across the room. His former right-hand man found him sitting on the floor. You need to let her go. Dominic laughed bitterly. Let her go once. You lost her because you betrayed her. I know. Then why are you still blaming the world? Dominic looked toward the window. I thought she'd always be there. That was his punishment. Not losing his money. Not losing his title. Not losing his family. It was discovering that the woman he'd once treated as an absolute certainty had become completely unreachable. Years passed. Dominic never remarried. He refused every woman his family introduced. He kept the necklace he had once given me locked inside his desk. Sometimes he took it out and remembered our first anniversary, the fireworks, the restaurant, the way I'd smiled when he told me he'd crossed 3 cities just to find the exact chocolate croissants I liked. He remembered every good thing. And that was what made the betrayal unbearable, because he knew exactly what he had destroyed. Meanwhile, my life became brighter. My company expanded. My foundation helped families who had lost everything. I traveled. I made friends. I fell deeply in love. And eventually I married again. The ceremony was small. No billionaires. No mafia families. No bodyguards surrounding the venue. Just people who genuinely loved me. When I said I do, I felt nothing for the man watching from the far side of the street. Dominic had come anyway. He didn't approach. He simply stood there until the ceremony ended. My new husband kissed my forehead. I smiled. Dominic turned away. His former bodyguard later told him something he already knew. She didn't even look for you. Dominic nodded. I know. That night he returned to his apartment alone. He opened the desk. Inside was my old necklace. He held it for a long time before placing it back. Then he whispered the words he had once promised me. I can't live without you. But this time there was nobody listening. And somewhere across the ocean, I was asleep beside the man who had never betrayed me. Dominic had spent his entire life believing that power meant nobody could ever take what belonged to him. In the end, his greatest loss was something he had given away himself. Me.